How does one begin to summarize the life of a man with a heart so big that he couldn't help but make an impact on those he met? Tripp was a one-of-a-kind, a pea in a pod, a crazy-tempered, silly man of character. He touched so many hearts, reached so many souls, and made a difference in so many people's lives. Once you met Tripp, you never really forgot him. Many knew that Tripp battled a variety of health issues, yet most didn't see it in his daily routine, as he barely complained. He seemed to find the way out of bed, pet his beloved dogs, eat his breakfast, watch his much-loved sports, and get dressed and begin his day. Tripp loved the silly emails sent by many and would laugh out loud. He wrote his notes, called his friends, his family, and his clients. Tripp loved to share, to talk about anything and everything. In Tripp's younger years, most would remember him as a loud, quick-tempered, fun-loving, crazy guy. Everyone seemed to be a bit intrigued by Tripp. He would take interest in you, care about you, and would enjoy sharing time with you. He always had a funny story to share or a story of great interest. In his later years, he would be known more to be a kind and gentle soul and a great mentor to most. He was playful, and he would enjoy a good laugh and would leave you with a good feeling. He loved to play hockey. I once remember my friends Carol and Karen were always helping me chase Tripp down at various rinks around town. We once spotted his car and decided to go in. We asked a couple of his teammates to go get him, not realizing players had to walk down the hallway from the showers to the locker room, and of course with their towels wrapped around their fit waists. His friend Greg told him that some girls were waiting and wanting to see him, and he walked out, and much to our surprise and his embarrassment, his towel fell from his waist. Yowza, did we get an eyeful! Forever to come, that became a locker room joke, and he was harassed for years, not to mention the later laughter my friends and I shared. That was back in 1985. I had just had my 21st birthday when we met at a local health club. Tripp asked me out on a date, and he had to wait almost 3 weeks before I could do the first date. Our first date, of course, was watching him play hockey. He'd pick me up for our dates and drop me off. He got out of the car, walked to my side of the door, and opened it, hold my hand, and walk me to the door and drop me off. Tripp would always say thank you and walk away. Now, after about 3 months, I began wondering what was wrong with me. He never even tried to kiss me. I quickly realized we were meant to be together forever to come. From our first date, we never parted. Tripp had a great sense of humor, and we could talk for hours. He'd leave me love notes on my car, at work, wherever I spent my time. We were so in love, always hugging, holding, kissing, and through his grandmother Mimi's eyes, we were constantly pawing each other. We both found that quite hysterical. Tripp was the 4th generation at Eaton's Ranch in Wolf, Wyoming. It's the oldest dude ranch in the United States, so we shared many years vacationing there with family and friends. Tripp proposed to me on the mountaintop while on horseback. All the family members knew, and of course I said yes, as he was such a handsome stallion, and how could I refuse? We actually ended up getting married there in July of 1989, 25 years ago. We returned many years to celebrate our anniversary. And Tripp, being the romantic he was also a very thoughtful gift giver. He loved King's Saddlery in Sheridan, where he would generally find a special gift for me and for our anniversary. He became very fond of this one particular bracelet, and he would give it to me not once, not twice, but 3 anniversaries in a row. I need not say, but I have a nice collection. Tripp could be so mindless, but he loved me so very much. During Tripp's many visits to Eaton's Ranch, he loved to go to the dump. It's where he would take his family and closest friends to shoot guns. He took a great pride in providing those he loved with great newly designed trinkets. I quickly learned that he seemed to love his sister Terry the most. Tripp once found an old toilet seat, and being the great shot he was, penetrated the seat with many, many gunshot holes. He so bravely and eagerly replaced Terry's nice cabin toilet seat with his brilliant new artfully designed one. In her time of need, we all heard many praise words exclaimed from her mouth through the windows of the cabin. He expressed his joy dancing along the porch, raising his hands high in the air with a big Tripp smile upon his face. Very pleased with himself indeed. Tripp often took many of us on so-called horseback joyrides, traveling in and out of trees, over the terrain, running up and down hills, jumping gullies, etc. It went on and on. He was an excellent rider, thinking how fun this was, all the while laughing and smiling. We would all be wondering, what the heck are we doing? And we'd be scared out of our minds, using expressive language in unison. Tripp would be so very proud of giving us these adventures. With regards to Tripp and I, he being the older, wiser, intelligent one of our family, when he was feeling frisky he would convince me that we would practice fertility-safe sex. A slow learner I am. 2 beautiful baby boys later, I learned he was not telling me the truth. All teasing aside, his hidden wisdom presented the best, the most beautiful presents he could have ever gave me, Keegan and Cooper. I'm certainly glad he had the brains. Tripper loved his brother Kent, or Tuna as he's fondly known. On his last trip up to Montana, Tuna let Tripp ride one of his bikes. Not accustomed to the driveway and Montana drivers, Tripp bolted out into the road, not seeing the truck barreling down upon him. Luckily, the driver had great reflexes, and Tripp kept on riding, not a care in the world. Tuna said when Tripp came back down the drive, the smile on his face was as big as the state itself, and no reports of truck driver with heart failure. Thank goodness. Tripp always had goals and many hidden ambitions. He kept diaries and papers filled with all kinds of information, and he was an avid reader. Tripp's first and foremost goals always was to remain happy and focused, and he always strived to see the very best in everything and everyone. He wanted to keep in touch with everyone he knew, not only for his business, but for on a personal level as well. He would often tell me who he talked with or ran into, and was so excited to share. Tripp would be an amazing role model for our children and great mentor to others. With love and understanding, he was driven to provide his great love of reading to others through tutoring programs such as WizKids, to keep minds sharp and open to education and many attractions around the world. A person could mention a subject, and he knew about it instantly. I was perplexed by this all the time. Why, I would say, would you know that? He was brilliant. Attending and graduating from DU, Tripp received his B.S. degree in geology. He got his real estate license fresh out of college, so I guess that B.S. paid off. He had many hidden talents. He loved art. He had particular interest in reverse plexiboard and canvas painting. He used to place his art in different places around town in coffee shops, small galleries, and decor stores. A shop owner in Old Littleton once told Tripp that he was the only artist in the store that sold 100% of his pieces, and with great honor people actually commissioned him to paint for them. Tripp had talent and he loved it. He was also into making concho bracelets and fun little trinkets, and he loved the thought of becoming an artist or a writer. He tried his hand at writing a book, The Traveling Saddle. It didn't go anywhere, but he was enthralled with the idea of becoming an author. Tripp looked forward to helping his friend Jay with Warren Village Christmas program each year, providing gifts from Santa to single families striving for a better life. He was passionate about helping the Whiz Kids tutoring program, tutoring inner city kids for many years. Tripp was also involved with the Colorado Golden Eagles special hockey program. Golden Eagles was created in 2000 for players' disabilities and gives people of all ages and abilities a chance to learn and grow by playing hockey. Gosh, he loved those kids. He would be so excited to share a story of each child he coached, and his face would beam in delight. Another passion was learning the teachings of the Bible. He loved his Lord and Savior and wanted to learn and understand all he could. He began going to church back in the early 1990s and never quit. He joined a men's Bible group so he could expand his knowledge. Tripp was a man of faith, and his passions really were endless. He was always eager to learn or give in so many ways. As mentioned, Tripp was such a character. He left his impression everywhere he went, and he will never be forgotten. Tripp loved people. He loved his friends. He loved his family, and he loved his children, Tony, Keegan, and Cooper. I also know he loved me dearly. He had a deep-seated bond. Unto death do we part. Tripp had a heart of a cowboy. He loved to ride, and he was an incredible horseman. When he rode, it was like watching a beautiful dancer in flight. He floated in the saddle. I loved to watch him ride. He was so beautiful. He began riding as a young boy. He became a wrangler in the college years. He would marry near a horse crossing adjacent to a flowing stream. He would bring his children and teach them to ride. To complete his life's quest, Tripp's ashes will be scattered on the ridge of South Red Canyon at Eaton's Ranch, leaving him free and dancing in the wind, soaring with the eagles. Tripp's legacy will continue on. I'm confident in saying we will always be grateful for Tripp's time and talent. Tripp's optimism never ceased and was an incredible inspiration to us all. May his spirit now be set free.